and welcome to The Fandemic. This is a Facebook and YouTube live podcast show that celebrates all the things that we feel are awesome in hopes of spreading our fandom to you. You can also find the show on Spotify, Apple, and anywhere you find audio podcasts. In the show, we dive deep into the hearts of fandoms and celebrate the things we love. From sci-fi to fantasy, movies to TV shows, comics to video games, we explore the universes that have captured our imaginations and made us lifelong fans. Each week, we'll take you on a journey through the realms of awesomeness. Expect passionate discussions, in-depth analyses, many side quests. So whether you're a die-hard enthusiast or just dipping your toes in the fandom waters, the Fandemic is the place to be. I'm your host, the self-proclaimed Emperor of Awesome, Bradley Butin, and with me today, I have some very special guests. Webb Blainett, and yes, did I say your name? How bad did I say it?
You were closer than most. The only thing is that the A at the end, it sounds like an O, even though it is an A. So it's pronounced Blainott.
Blainott. Awesome. And Alex Daw. Did I get that right?
You got it. Most people don't get that either. It's ironically tough to pronounce.
Right? The writer and editor of Nrg Comics. Welcome to the Fandemic. Please tell the Fandemic about you, your Kickstarter, and Nrg Comics. Who wants to go first?
Webb, I'll let you go first.
All right, sure. I'll kick things off here. So who I am, I'm Webb. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I enjoy writing comics. And this NRG is the enterprise that Alex and I have set off on together. We sort of bumped into each other way back in the pre-days, the days before COVID, the days that are spoken of only in legend, when we were just on DeviantArt, making original characters, do not steal. And we sort of liked each other's work, so we started working together. And that has eventually built its way up into the NRG universe, in which Zener, the character we'll be talking about today, is the main hero. He's one of our main heroes. He's probably the most powerful, and he's the first one to be getting his own volume. So we're very excited about it, and we're excited to introduce it to you.
Fantastic. All right, what do you got for me, Alex?
I'm Alex. Like Webb, I enjoy writing comics, specifically superheroes. I'm influenced a lot by cartoons and animation, and as well as many Western comics, but slowly taking influence from Eastern animation and manga. Zener, I came with the idea back in, I want to say, the early pre-2020s, and we and Webb have been developing ever since. And right now it's on Kickstarter, and it's really doing well. We got over 25 backers, and we're close to reaching $1,000 of our $2,500 goal in less than half of our campaign time.
So how long is the campaign?
It goes until the 18th of March, so the Monday the 18th.
Oh, nice. You got a few more weeks there. And it's also my ex-wife's birthday. No, she's great.
If it doesn't succeed, we know who to blame then, right?
There we go. Yeah, no, she's pretty awesome. And she's probably not watching this. So all right. So I like to start every show off with just some of your current favorites. So Webb, what's your favorite TV show, movie, video game, comic book? Well, what's your favorites right now?
Favorites right now. I mean, right now I don't really watch a whole lot of TV. I am glad to see that Hell's Kitchen is back on. So
nice.
But I need to get caught up on that. In terms of comic books, I'm weirdly sort of an outsider artist. You ever heard of what's it called, Shinmu? Like there's this video game that was produced by a guy who famously never played video games.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not quite that diehard. I do read comics every now and again,
Yeah.
and I enjoy them. But I really don't read that many. I just write them. But I guess if I had to say my favorite comic, well, the one that's sort of closest to Alex and my hearts, because we were both huge fans of it at the time we met, was Runaways. So that's a big one for us. I guess that my favorite, though, it's hard to say. I think that Swamp Thing was really good. Alan
Love
Moore
Swamp Thing.
Even though I've had some gripes with Alan Moore, I thought that was a really good book.
Yeah.
And I think that I've been working my way through the 90s Justice League with, Grant Morrison. And so far, I've really been enjoying that. So yeah, I don't read all that many contemporary comics, though. So maybe not the most interesting answer.
That's okay. Is there any TV shows that you like more than others?
TV shows that I like more than others. Well, like I said, I don't watch a ton of TV, but when I do, I like shows that are either some sort of a reality contest, or I like shows that are just good old fashioned action, usually animated. I like anime. Very much a fan of anime. Yeah.
So there's a new show that just came out. It's on Peacock. It's a Deal or No Deal Island. It's like Deal or No Deal with Survivor. And
what?
Yeah, I was almost going to be late. I like had to pause it and be like, "Sorry, baby, we'll pick this up later."
Hey, do you take these two fish that you need to not die? Deal or no deal?
Right. Yeah, it's all about the rice. It's all about the rice. Are you a gamer at all?
A gamer? Sort of a casual gamer. I like to play like a lot of Magic the Gathering Arena.
Cool.
I play pinball on Steam. I have been doing some. I have been doing some Pokemon, the new one.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to get back to that because I beat it, but I haven't gone through the post game yet.
Gotcha. My all-time favorite TV show is Psych.
Psych
is the greatest of all TV shows. You're gonna have a belly laugh every episode. It's enjoyable in every way. You get drama, comedy, I mean, it's a perfect show. It is a perfect show. All right. What about you, Alex? What are some of your current favorites right now?
Well, if we're talking comics, what I'm really enjoying reading right now is Eric Larson's Savage Dragon.
Very good.
I really admire Eric for sticking to one title for his whole career, mostly, and that's kind of the career I want to have. And Savage Dragon is just awesome because he gets full control over it, and it's such an awesome character. But I also like characters. I've gotten really into Green Arrow, especially the Phil Hester, Kevin Smith era time. I also like Daredevil. And yeah, like Webb said, we are huge fans of Marvel's Runaways. I've kept a pretty good job of keeping up with that, and I wish Marvel would do more with it. When it comes to favorite movie, what?
I was gonna say Green Arrow is my all-time favorite superhero.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's not one that
everybody can like Batman. Everybody can like Batman, but you know what? Green Arrow, he doesn't go into space and do all that. Well, okay, maybe a little bit, but not like, he's always more grounded, and I always like that about him. He's always about like his little area first, like, which
he's sort of got. I guess he's got the benefit of sure, for a time they were kind of trying to turn him into a Batman clone. But
Yeah.
then when Batman just sort of became Bat God,
Yeah.
everyone's like, the Batman, he could probably beat Goku with enough prep time.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody's ever said that for Green Arrow.
Right. It has always been like, I have to get him while he's charging up. It's like.
What I love about Green Arrow is that he's like Marvel's Daredevil, and it took a lot of writers to build him up to what he is now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say that for a lot of heroes like Superman or Wonder Woman, but I feel like with Green Arrow and Daredevil, it sticks out more because this was over a period of time. It wasn't just like one and done deal. And also, I really like Green Arrow's Rogues Gallery. It struggled for a while, but thanks to Phil Hester, Kevin Smith, and all those guys, it's really blossomed.
It really has, and you can't say that about a lot of people. I mean, honestly, the best rogues, okay, you got to give Batman, but the Flash has probably the best rogues gallery in DC.
Yes,
I mean, just because like you could do your own stories from their point of view and be great. I mean, like if you ever read the 3 Jokers, yeah, you can pass. It's stupid. It really, really is. Like, I don't want to know the origin story of the Joker. I just want the Joker to come in, fuck shit up, and go away. And the problem is DC. They break that glass all the time. It just irritates the crap out of me.
Well, speaking of Flash, Flash is like one of my favorite superheroes too. Not as much as Green Arrow or Daredevil, but I really like his Rogues Gallery. Especially my favorite rogue of his is Captain Cold.
Yeah.
And this is so much the case because I read Flashpoint and I grew up with that and I love that. But honestly, my favorite side story from that was when Captain Cold was Commander Cold, because he wasn't a full-on superhero or villain. He was somewhere in the middle, but he was leaning towards the villain, and it was just like I think that cemented me as Captain Cold as my favorite Flash rogue. Yeah,
and did you watch Legends of Tomorrow?
I saw a few episodes. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, like he was the best part. He was one of the best parts of that show. He was so good. Right now, there's the current run of Green Arrows being written by Joshua Williamson, and he's the one that did the amazing. I mean, he's the one that brought Flash back, Joshua Williamson, right? And they're eight issues in, I think. And the story's awesome. It's fantastic. But this dude's got to be like the busiest guy because he's also writing for Image, Duke, and Cobra Commander. And they're opposites. Like Duke is the super spy book, and Cobra Commander is obviously a horror book. And there's only 2 issues in, and they are done so well. I'm like, dude, I don't even know if Josh Williams can do anything bad right now. I was like, man, I was just blown away. I just read Cobra Commander 2 today, and I was like, damn, this is freaking good.
It's part of the new Kirkman initiative with the Transformers G.I. Joe universe, right? I just read about that.
The Energon, yeah. It's fantastic. It's really good.
Speaking of Kirkman, another favorite series of mine, Invincible.
Yes. Do you like the show?
I haven't seen much of the show, honestly, just because I'm terrible watching TV these days. But I feel like they've done the story justice. So I feel that's one of the better comic adaptations.
I agree. So I work in a movie theater, so I watch like all the movies. I do all the marketing for a movie theater here in Ankeny, and so like I have to know. I probably don't have to, but I mean, it makes me good at my job when I know what I'm talking about. And I gotta watch them for free. So there's that. Yeah. Exactly. I'll probably go to Dune 2 tomorrow. But
let me just cut into that's quite quick. Is there ever a movie that you've come across that you're like, no, not even for free?
There's a recent movie that I wish I would have left even for free. Madam Web.
Oh, that does not surprise me.
Madam Web was like people still are going to it, and when I'm talking to them, like, "Hey, what are you going to?" They're like, "Madam Web," and I'm like,
I guarantee you, each and every one of those people thinks it's an MCU movie.
Yeah, a lot of them do. I try to be like, hey, this keep in mind this is its own thing, whatever. You're gonna get, Uncle Ben in it. I mean, like how like one of the questions I always ask, I'm like, how steeped into Spider-Man mythology are you? Like, do you know anything about these characters?
Do you know this
No?
obscure character from that '90s show? Maybe appeared in some comics too. That nobody ever wanted a movie for. That one.
Yeah, and they didn't cast Helen Mirren for it, so it's just like, so yeah, Madam Web. I did a Fandemically review of it. I trash it pretty hard.
I might have to look that up.
All the way to landfill, huh?
Right, man. And here I have to watch it again because my kids want to see it. So I'll make sure I'm tired when I go, but or I might just have to go find work to do when they go watch it. Oh, God, excuse me.
Just tell them that Coraline was Madam Web. They won't know the difference, and then it's a better movie.
Oh, they love Coraline.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know. Do you punish them for making them you see it again, or is watching it punishment enough? Do you
well, they're all girls, and they're like the 11 and 14 are my two youngest, and so they like the girl team up. So if going to Madam Web is going to get them closer into the Spider-Man world, you know what? I will fill them in on who these characters really are. Be like, that was not Spider-Woman. That there's 2 Spider-Women in there. Technically, there's 4. Like let's just go.
Yeah.
But yeah. There was a lot of problems. There was.
Don't think about it. The people making the movie sure didn't.
Yeah. But I'm super excited for Dune 2, and I'm the one I'm most excited for is Godzilla Kong. That's the one I'm looking forward to. And then Ghostbusters, of course, which are I'm going to go all out for Ghostbusters. I got some big stuff planning for that. So as long as the corporate tells me yes.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that, Web?
Never mind. You go ahead.
Do you watch Epic Rap Battles of History, the YouTube channel?
I do. Well, yeah, I not all the time, but I do watch it.
They came out with a new one that is Godzilla versus Kong, and it's really good. And as a joke, I've been going around social media posting the video and saying, I'm going to tell people this was Godzilla versus Kong too.
That's awesome. I will be checking that out after this.
It's really good. I mean, like it's up in the air who it was the better rapper in that music in that one, but I'm giving it to Kong just because I thought he was great all the way through.
Awesome. All right. Well, I got some questions for you guys.
Excellent. Hit us.
All right. So we kind of skated around a little bit on some of these, but I do want to know, how did you get into comics? Like, how did you get into wanting to write a comic? I know you both kind of talked a little bit about it, but I want to go just a little deeper.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, I'm not really much of a comics reader, which is obviously a weird quality for a person who likes to write comics to have. I think the thing that really drew me into it, though, is that comics as a medium, it gives you, it has the highest spectacle to investment ratio. Comics were doing things in the 1930s that movies couldn't do until well after the turn of the century. And so I think that the ability to just do anything is the part of it that has always appealed to me. I got into superheroes mostly from my dad. I did actually find his collection of comics when I was a kid, so I've read through a bunch of the older stuff, sort of some like Batman Through the Ages collections and things like that, and that's what sort of started me on the path. But I mostly got into it through animated shows, and I always thought it would be cool to write these characters, but I didn't really ever want to do an animated show. I always thought that doing the comic itself seemed more appealing.
Awesome. What about you, Alex?
Well, the story I always tell people is that when I was a kid, my greatest aspiration, my dream that I never grew out of was to be a superhero. Because, I grew up with shows like in the 90s, like Power Rangers, Batman, the whole Bruce Timm universe. And, to me, just being a superhero always seemed like the most awesome career because anything could happen. You were fighting evil, having all these cool powers. And unfortunately, I tried as hard. I could not be a superhero in real life. So one day it just occurs to me, okay, if I can't be a superhero in real life, I'm going to create my own and I'm going to live vicariously through them. I'm going to
How many spiders did you let bite yourself? Did you let bite you?
Unfortunately, I had spider phobia. I did not let any spider bite me. But I this is a fun fact. When I was looking at origin of superpowers, I remember that one was like nuclear waste or toxic waste.
Yeah.
At one point, I went up to my mom and I asked, "Hey, Mom, is there any toxic waste dumps around here?"
Did you ever do the one where you like tied a towel around your neck and jumped off the stairs? Because
I'm pretty sure I did that at one point.
Yeah,
Too.
when I was a kid, I thought that like Superman wears a cape and Superman could fly. I was under the impression that capes simply granted the power of flight. And anytime there was a character in any media that was wearing a cape and was not using it to fly, I was a little confused.
Yeah.
They know they're wearing a cape, right?
It's like the TV shows from the 80s and the early 90s had quicksand everywhere. It let me think that quicksand was really a bad problem in the United States.
No, man, that was
all over the place.
When am I gonna step into some of this stuff?
Right. In car ramps, like when am I gonna jump my car? Like there's gonna be random ones. I'm like, oh crap, there goes my suspension. Yeah, awesome. So, do you remember your first comic book? So my first comic book was a random Batman issue, and I actually saw it at the local comic book store, and I ended up picking it up. I destroyed my original copy, but it was Batman with fighting Clayface, and it was just like his suit in clay. That was my first comic book that I remember buying. What was your first comic book that really got you into it? Or, some whatever got you into it?
For me, as I mentioned, I located my dad's stash down in my grandparents' basement. And I can't remember which one it was first. There were like 3 big books down there. And also like some smaller issues, but I went for the big ones first. One was like a Batman through the ages, one was Superman through the ages, and one was like a bunch of different first issues of Golden Age heroes all compiled together. I think I probably did the Batman one first. So that probably means that the first comic I ever read was the first Batman comic by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, because that one was, of course, the first one in there. But yeah, I plowed through that one, then I plowed through Superman, and then I did the other one as well. So that's kind of what got me started.
All right, what about you, Alex?
Well, there are 2 instances where this happened. One is like where I remember my first comic book ever, and then the one that actually got me into comic book collecting and writing. So the first one was when I was in grade school and Batman the Animated Series was out, or the new Batman Adventures, and they had those comics for it. One day I decided to go to a comic store and I see this issue of Batman the Adventures, and on it there's Deadshot, his first appearance ever in a Batman story, and he's pinned against the wall with a batarang, and I thought, this looks like a cool Batman story. I'm going to get that. That was the first comic I ever bought or read. But the one that I tell people that always got me into comics was actually the first volume of Runaways, and this is a special story. So it was on my 16th birthday, and I was in school in the library looking for something to read during quiet time during study hall, and I'm looking into my school's graphic novel section, and I see this Marvel book. It's Runaways. I have no idea what it is, but I read the premise like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Teenagers with evil super parents, that sounds good. I was blown away by the story and the art. I just had to go back to the comic store and just find all the books I could and read this more. And then after that, I got to so many other titles, and I knew I wanted to do this for the rest of my life.
For me, I got out of comics for many, many, many years, and it was about 2015 that I actually got back into comics, and it was a Green Arrow book. There was this hardcover. I was at Half Price Books in Des Moines, and I just saw Green Arrow, and I saw that it was written by Kevin Smith, and I'm like, I like Kevin Smith. I didn't know he wrote. I knew he was into comics. I didn't know he wrote Green Arrow, and I'm like, cool. I know there's a show coming out soon, so let's check this out. And so I picked it up, and it was the Omniopia, and I'm like, oh, this is not like this is good. This is a story, and that's why Green Arrow has been my guy. So okay, who is your favorite comic book character and why, Alex?
Favorite comic book character and why? That's tough to say because I break it down by different types. I think I'm going to say, if I had to choose one, I would say probably Superman. Just because like he's so iconic, and at the end of the day, he's the one who showcased the entire. He's the one through which all superhero culture developed from. He's got such an iconic rogues gallery, such an iconic supporting cast. He's got great storylines, and I think when it comes to it, every day you ask anyone, they want to be Superman, And sometimes I still fantasize about being Superman just because he's such an awesome character. He's like the trope creator of superheroes.
Good answer. What about you, Webb?
There was a time when I would have answered this very quickly, but today I would have to say that I fully agree that Superman is my favorite and the best. I think just the fact of his complete humility is something that's not only defining for superheroes, but kind of lacking in some of the more recent characters that have been coming out. The fact that he's so immensely powerful, even among all these powerful people, and still just sees himself as a farm boy from Kansas is, I think it's the perfect encapsulation of what being a hero is. And so I've always liked that. And I mean, it's also fun to see him punch things really hard every now and again. I do like a good knockdown drag out fight with Doomsday. So yeah, he's hitting both. He's hitting both my big brain and like my little what you would call it, reptile brain, I guess.
The thing about Batman but Superman that I always find intriguing is that you can't beat him physically.
Right.
You have to figure out a way to beat him, emotionally, or, you have to outsmart him or one of those things. So you have to be this super chess player. That's why I like that his main villain is Lex Luthor, just a normal person who is just smart.
And it's so interesting because that's normally a quality of a villain, right? The fact that you can't beat them a certain way and you have to think your way around the problem.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that it works so well for Superman as a hero, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think that's one of the reasons why his rogues gallery is also one of my favorites, because every villain is catered to defeat him in some way besides punching him. I mean, he has a good few punchers that actually put him on his toes, like Mongol or Doomsday, who he fought through pure exhaustion. And I got to thank Bruce Timm on this. He's got Livewire, he's got Parasite, he's got the Toy Man, he's got Metallo with the Kryptonite, he's got magic users. He's got everything from across the spectrum you could find in a comic book to beat him other than physically.
Yeah.
And you still get great battles from that.
Agree. So who do you think is the most important character that's been created in the comics?
Honestly,
I hate to use Superman again, but yes. But I don't know. that's such an obvious answer that I almost want to kind of find something different. Do you have something to go with, Alex?
I do actually, and it's another one that people high in regards. It's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think that would be my second pick.
Spider-Man is a lot like Superman in that he's got a great supporting cast. He's got a great rogues gallery that he can fight with, but also have to he tries to try to outsmart. He's had some great storylines, great writing. He's got a great design. But I think where Superman is like this pinnacle of superhero-ness we aspire to be, Spider-Man is more grounded and he's more relatable. He's got problems like everyone else does. Superman is able to Superman kind of lives in a perfect world in a sense, except for the occasional things in his real life. But Spider-Man, he's like an average Joe that people can relate to because he has real troubles in life. So like they're the two greatest superheroes, Superman and Spider-Man, because on one end of the spectrum is the life we want, and the other spectrum is the life we can relate to.
Yeah, for me, it's Dick Grayson. So Dick Grayson, I mean, because he started off as the sidekick. He grew into Nightwing. He even ended up taking over the mantle of Batman. So to me, he's been really the only character that has gone 100% full circle. And that's why Dick Grayson to me is like the greatest character that's been created in comics.
I like that answer actually. Just when Dick Grayson came out, and you'd sort of asked who the most influential character was, I guess, and the fact that not only did Dick Grayson completely create this whole idea of a sidekick, which was huge throughout the Golden Age, but then he redefined everything again with the idea of a legacy, and he redefined everything again with the idea of sort of moving up through the ranks. I don't know that I necessarily am thrilled with all the fallout of some of those changes, but they're undeniably huge changes, and I think that at least in his case, they work very, very well.
Plus, when it comes to Robins, Dick Grayson is the only one who's actually has a rogues gallery people can name. Like when his original run in the 90s came along, he got Blockbuster, Kuare, Lady Vic, the Body Doubles. You could. There aren't a lot of sidekicks or teenage superheroes with a tangible rogues gallery, but you could probably name 5 good ones for Nightwing.
Awesome. And now that we have established our nerd cred, let's dive deep into Nrg Comics. All right. So a question. What do you think is the most important part of the character creation when you are world building? Go ahead, Wed.
I don't know. I almost want to split that into 2 questions because what's the most important part of character creation, and then how do you put that into world building? Because actually, for me, this might sound like a weird answer for the character creation process, but I think that the character design, at least for me, is always the most important part. Even though the backstory, their motivations, all these things are what make the character, I usually get all those things by looking at the character's design. I tend to make a design first, and then I ask myself, okay, who is this person? Why do they look the way they do? What has led them to dress up in this costume and have this sort of what's the word I'm looking for? This aesthetic. So that for me is usually the starting point. When it comes to world building, I usually then take those things that I have gleaned from the design, their backstory and all of that, and I ask myself, now how do I tie this together with all the other characters here and sort of weave it into a mesh? And I think you'll see that a lot in the Zener book. All these people their stories are very much intertwined. All of these people started out as their own characters. Some maybe were intended to have relations to each other, but most of them are just sort of characters that I pulled from different ideas that Alex and I have had throughout the years. And I found a way to kind of weave their stories together, so that one of them affects another, and they all are a part of the same grand overarching story.
Great answer. What about you, Alex?
I think for me, it's kind of varied, but I think in time, the thing that's become essential to me when it comes to character creating and building into the universe, it's become the hook. I've come to learn that there's no such thing as originality. Everything's been done to death more times than you can count. But I've always felt that if you can find something interesting with your idea, if you get a spark of an idea and it appeals to you could say, okay, here's my idea. Why is it different from any other ideas? And why do I think this is storytelling potential for a character and for our universe? And how can I pitch this to people to get them interested? That is what I think is important to becoming a character, because as creators, we're in a flux of other creators who are doing their own thing and coming up with so many ideas. So we got to make sure ours stands out. And when it came to Zener, he's obviously something of a Superman, but originally I wanted a character who had all these psychic powers. It was like the psychic Superman. I thought, okay, but I mean, Superman's been done before. What can we do that's different? And he's got all this power. What if he had no control? What if he was like struggling with it, and he's trying to be a good superhero? And what if the world's just against him? And no matter what he just does more harm than good, even though he keeps trying, and the world's kind of against him. And then I've come to pitch it as, what happens if you give Superman Spider-Man's problems, like what he actually deals with? And people really like that. I try to compare our characters when we can, but it does help. And I think I was just at a con recently where I was promoting Zener, and people love that pitch. They thought that was interesting,
Sold me. Sold me on there. So yeah. And that was purple. My daughter's favorite color is purple. So I was like,
yes.
Got
purple,
it.
Many purple characters in this book.
Yes.
Purple is my favorite color too, obviously.
Nice.
But the reason I chose purple from Zener is because of Pokemon. Because when I grew up, Pokemon cards and Pokemon games, purple was associated with psychic powers and Pokemon.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love how in the book the twin. I love the twin connection, which you felt right away. I mean, like, you felt like, okay, these are obviously brother sister. They're gonna have brother sister problems. Yep, there's the brother sister problem. I care about the situation. I care. Oh, wait, what? Yeah, it was very, very well done. I loved it a lot.
Yeah. The sibling connection was all Webb's idea, but it's honestly bloomed into one of the things people love about our comics is that after everything, these siblings still have a connection from beyond everything, and it's like become so powerful. People love it,
and it really gives it to like the kryptonite, but also the source of the power at the same time. Which is kind of a very, very interesting take on your Superman, which kind of you got your Superman, but you also figured out a way to like, yep, this is mine. This is mine here, and you can't have it. So just like that sibling rivalry, and it'll be interesting because I'll be getting the rest of the stuff, but it'll be interesting how the other characters that are introduced, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Oops, and cool. All right, so. What is your favorite part of the world that you built?
For me, I think it's the way that it's going to be sort of naturally unfolding over time. A lot of things, a thing that I see a lot from people who are trying to start indie books with shared universes is that you sort of just dive right into the action. The universe is already shared. There's already this city. the city is already watched over by heroes. Maybe our hero is like a plucky young upstart. But for NRG, we're very much taking the slow, steady approach. Superheroes have just appeared on the scene. By the time that Zener fires up, there's 2 of them. Soon there'll be 3 with Toon Man when that book comes out, and then a couple more with Marauder. But, it's just slowly building up. And right now, these people have not met each other. They're sort of generally vaguely aware of each other, but they don't live in the same city. And they've got their own problems. So I'm really, the part I'm most excited for is to see this whole thing just naturally kind of expand and grow until the ballooning issues from each of these different cities where these different characters live collide. And eventually they're going to start coming face to face with each other. And things are really going to start popping off. So that's the long game. And I think that that's something that NRG offers that a lot of other indies don't.
Well done. Nice answer. Well, you, Alex.
I kind of have to agree with Webb on this, in that we've kind of changed the method on how we introduce characters because we're starting from the ground up. And so that offers a lot of potential that people are going to say, okay, I have no idea what this is, completely new. It's not like the MCU or DCU in which you're rebooting things from the ground up for things we've already seen before. This is new territory. These are new characters. You don't know what's going to come behind door number 1, door number 2, or where those doors are going to lead. And we have so many ideas with what we want to do with our universe and all these characters and all these cool teams and villains. And I mean, there's so much potential with it. I mean, that's what I've always loved about, is that I've always wanted to create a huge universe that rivals DC and Marvel one day. And the fact that we're starting from the ground up and expanding that, and it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And hopefully with our the same will be for our fandom. It's like, it's going to be so amazing to watch it grow. It's like a little infant that we have, or like a plant that we've potted. It's like we're caring for it, we're nurturing it, and we get to watch it grow up and become this amazing thing.
And then you can plant those little seeds to have bigger payoffs down the road. So what is the end goal? I mean, like, or is there an end goal, or is it just like the goalpost is just going to keep on moving?
We do sort of have an idea of having kind of phases, to use the MCU term. There are going to be parts of the story where a big event happens, and it's going to kind of cap things off, and then the story will proceed from there into the next thing. But it's not going to be like an event a year. It's going to be an event maybe per decade or every few decades.
It's the right way to do it.
Yeah. I have, the Lord willing and the creek don't rise. I would like to be able to hand this project off to future generations. So I don't foresee an actual end point. Just one thing wraps up and then we start a new chapter and it just keeps going.
Right. I like that.
And
go ahead, Alex.
Going off that's exactly the same thing I feel. When we started this company, when I started writing, I had no end in sight for any of my characters. I had no end in sight for my universe. I didn't want it to be, we're going to go do this for as long as we can, then we get bored, and we're just going to end it, like, say, Kirkman did with Invincible. We want this to be ongoing and going for as long as we can, because that's part of the appeal of creating this giant universe that's left behind. Because, I want future generations to grow up and say, my favorite character was created by me or by Webb, and it's from this story, which I loved, and it made me want to write comics and eventually join that consumption. We have talked about, though, the possibility of certain characters having endings to their stories, depending on like which character it is, and just like what we think we can do with them. But universe as a whole, we see no end in sight. This is like, we're shooting for this. We're like Buzz Lightyear. We're going to infinity and beyond.
I like that. I like it. So, is the building of the rogues gallery going to be just as important as the main characters?
Oh
Very
yeah,
much so.
I mean
Absolutely.
that's like comic 101. I mean every hero's a hero, but everyone loves a villain. You need the villain in order to have a hero. I mean, like, and we even like, and we're building our rogues galleries not just on like how the hero fights them, but how they mirror them as characters. You know, like you'll see within Zener's book that every villain he faces is a part of him that's dark and reflected and they have great power, but they're just no control over it. I mean, Webb. I mean, like you've written this book. How would you describe his rogues gallery?
Oh, I love Xehanar's Rogues Gallery. In this book, the main baddie that he's going to be facing is a guy called Nocturne. Nocturne is a kinetic user, sort of like Xehanar is, but Nocturne, his ability allows him to bend shadows and use them as weapons. It's a more limited power than what Xehanar has, but because of the way that kinetic abilities work in the book, more limited actually means more powerful if you're in an environment where you can use your limited power. So I think that Nocturne's going to be fun. He's a villain who's sort of angry and selfish and feels like a victim when he's he's been victimizing Axel, aka Xehanar, for most of his life, and he sort of stands in opposition to Xehanar, who's the true villain of all Nocturne's ridiculousness, and who out of this has only acquired the desire to help people. There are going to be other villains in there as well. We've got Chimera, who's this giant monster, who's actually just a lady who she's kind of a no-nonsense sort of soldier type, not a literal soldier, but a soldier type of person for the organization known as the Think Tank, who are a group of evil baddies. Also working for the Think Tank, we've got Auntie Venom, genius of poisons and drugs and various other performance-enhancing things. We've got Automaton, who's a guy who put himself into a robot body. And then we've got people who are guinea pigs of the Think Tank, a woman called Firearms. She's got arms that are made of fire. Centerfold, who's this sexy shapeshifter. And then those are the Think Tank people. Mm-hmm. But also hovering in the background are these more mysterious characters, Salvatore and Quintain. And we don't really know yet what their, well, I do, but you got to wait to know what their whole deal is. Because they're sort of hovering around, not quite getting up in Xehanar's grill just yet, but they clearly have the intention to do so, and the reasons why are not fully known. So I think that all of this is going to culminate in some very interesting stories.
And that's what I've been telling people about Xehanar is that there's definitely an overarching bad guy in the first volume, but he's not just facing one enemy. He's facing a whole rogues gallery within his first 6 issues. And it's left up in the air when you read this, who really is the most worst enemy to Xehanar there is. You know, who's actually his greatest enemy, who causes him to become a hero, who is the most vile, the most evil, the most antagonizing of it. And that's what's so fun to read about Xehanar.
That is amazing. So I love to write. I've written a couple kids' books and everything like that. I have a pitch. There's something that I've written probably 5 times. Here it is. It's called Superish. Tell me if this is a good idea, if I should keep it going or not, all right? And it's going to be full of tropes where a comet goes by Earth and then 1% of the population of Earth all of a sudden has superpowers. But they're not all as cool as you think. Like one person, like all of their limbs is invisible, and I mean all of their limbs. One person can fly, but only 6 feet in the air and 6 miles per hour. You know, so just superpowers like that. But the whole thing is going to take place in a support group for people with super-ish powers. And then then like people start dying and everything like that. So this little group of people with not so cool powers have to come together and figure out how their powers can solve the mystery. Like one person can speak to inanimate objects.
Oh, that sounds pretty useful if you want to be a detective.
Right. Yeah. So me and my buddy that I do the podcast with, him and I, we've been kind of kicking around things, and we got an overarching story that one day we'll get somewhere. But yeah, that's the super-ish.
That sounds like fun. I always like stories about finding creative ways to use powers that aren't all that strong.
I mean, that's kind of like what My Hero Academia is, and that's kind of what I was sent around Doom Patrol.
Well, yeah. I was going to say these sort of sound like the background characters in My Hero Academia. You know, the real big busters aren't there. We just have to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So last question for you guys. What's next for our heroes?
All right. So after this book, first of all, we've got some more heroes coming. But once all of those are established and ready to go, things are going to start getting a little more intense. Because like I said, these people, they've been over in their own little separate cities, all right? But eventually, the problems are going to get too big to be contained. In the NRG verse, as I mentioned, there's the think tank. They're a group that creates people with superpowers, and yet there aren't any superheroes in the universe. And there really, up to this point, haven't been any supervillains. Why? Because the whole thing is hush-hush.
Yeah.
And it's under the radar. But something like that could never be kept under wraps forever. And so that means that eventually things are going to have to pop off. And everything is going to completely just turn upside down the moment that this new technology and these new people are known about. It's going to be a huge deal. And it's going to sort of start bringing all these disparate characters from different parts of the universe together.
Awesome. Alex, what about you? What do you think? What do you think is next going to be coming up next?
Just like Winter said, everything's going to come full circle. Everything's going to blow up. But what people are going to see with Nrgverse is the unique characters and superheroes that are rising to this occasion. I mean, they are superheroes, but they're not like the traditional you would find in Marvel and DC. These are fun and exciting characters who are like throw against the wall ideas that we come up with, and they're outside the box, and they're so far along the different spectrums that there is unbelievable. I mean, it's almost to say that our universe is kind of going to break the mold on superhero tropes. You know, we're going to have characters that are like doing things like teams that are just going to be so unique that you don't find anywhere else. As like saying, okay, this can only be NRG. Case in point, one of our upcoming superheroes, which I'm writing, is a full-on cartoon character from a cartoon universe.
Yes, I'm excited for that because that sounds awesome. You showed me what that looks like.
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be epic and awesome. All right. So one more time, I need you guys to tell me where you're from, what do you guys do, and any last requests or any last statements.
Well, I'm Webb. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a data analyst by day, comic book writer by night. I can be found on various social media under, I believe my handle is Hopcrop. So you can find me on Twitter. I guess I don't know. Do I have to call it X now? Well, will
X is
Daddy
going to give
Elon-
it to you. X will give it to you, I guess. I don't know.
will Daddy Elon sue me if I don't call it X? So you can find me there. You can find all of our superhero stuff on DeviantArt under Nrg Comics. And we would like you to support our campaign that we have going right now for Xener Master of the Mind. I think that you're really going to love it. It's a really kind of, sometimes it's pulse pounding and sometimes it's just tense.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah,
It absolutely is.
So I think that you're absolutely going to love it, and we hope to get to have your support, and then we hope to get it several more times because we got a lot more coming.
Awesome. All right, Alex, where can we find you?
My name is Alex Daw. I work by day. I'm a call center. I work a call center job in Des Moines, Iowa. By day, by night, I am a comic book writer and publisher. You can find me under all of NRG's handles on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Our biggest ones, though, are DeviantArt, Patreon, and Kickstarter right now. If I could leave you with this, is that please support NRG's Xener on Kickstarter. Not only will you get a great book full of action, suspense, drama, romance, battles, the whole works that you could ever want in a superhero comic that's original for us, but you will allow us to bring you exciting new titles, continue Xener, all these great ideas. And of course, I do want to mention, this is an all or nothing campaign. So if you want this book, we have to succeed in our goal. So please support us on Patreon, because if you want this, the only way it works is if it succeeds. That's Kickstarter for you.
And tell your friends.
Yeah, you have to email me your link and I'll put it in the show notes. All right.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. So also coming up, we have I've Fandemically reviewed Duke in Cobra Commander #2. Coming soon, I have Xener Master of the Mind, Thundercats #1, Wolverine vs. Predator, Shogun, Dune Part 2, and more. If you want to find me or follow me or friend me, you can do that at Fandemic3 on the X or Twitter. Message me on Facebook at The Fandemic, also active on TikTok at Fandemic1. Hear my reviews and so much more. If you want to support the show, there are several ways to do so. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/The Fandemic. You can go to Patreon at patreon.com/PVOTN Fandemic. However, I'm retooling that currently. You can just go to PayPal or Venmo. I'm not going to say no at Bradley Butin, or just share the show with someone you want to make a little more awesome. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review. All right, so thank you for leveling up my awesome and being part of the Fandemic family. Please tell everyone where they can level up their awesome, and you already did that. But now I have one last thing I got to throw you guys. I like to end every episode on a positive note. So what are your words of wisdom?
Let it be.
Nice.
I don't know. Alex, got any words of wisdom? Save me. I'm trying to think, man.
On spot.
Every time that I'm on a podcast, people ask me what words wisdom I have to have for care. This is the one that took me the longest to find out, but it's one I offer people. If you are like me, a constant idea machine, spinning out ideas and not sure which one to focus on, the idea that you think about the most, that keeps coming back, that all your other ideas keep coming back to and expanding on, that is where your heart lies. That is what the story you want to tell, and that is what you should focus on, because that is where you'll be happiest.
I love that. Webb, do you got anything?
I would suggest, all of you out there, that you put your pants on first, then your shoes.
I love it. All right. Friendship is like peeing yourself. Yes. Everyone can see it, but only you get the warm feeling that it brings. If you think about it, every time you feel stupid, you just got a little smarter. Never forget, squirrels' cheeks are also their